Well, the cyber attack lifecycle, also known as the cyber kill chain, outlines the stages a cyber attack typically follows. So, understanding these stages can help organization develop strategies to detect and prevent attack. Let's see, what are the stages of a cyber attack lifecycle?
Hi, I am Imran Afzal. I make learning technology easy, even for beginners in IT. So I have over 25 years of experience in Linux administration, Windows, virtualization, and many more. I have taught millions of students worldwide.
The first stage is reconnaissance. Then we have weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, and finally act on objective. Let's understand each phase in detail. Also, what are the defense techniques that we can use at each stage to break the kill chain process? Reconnaissance. So, imagine cyber attackers like well-organized criminals planning a heist. Well, they don't jump in. They take their time to plan everything out. First, they do their homework by gathering information. This might be as simple as check out employees' social media profiles or browsing through the company's website. They are looking for anything that might help them trick people or get insight into the company system. Well, once they have gathered enough information, they use different tools to find weak points in the company's network. Think of these tools like high-tech gadgets a spy might use. For instance, they might use a network analyzer to map out and understand the flow of data across a network, which helps them identify vulnerability parts. Well, vulnerability scanners are handy for pinpointing weaknesses within a system, such as unpaid software on configuration, which can be exploited. They can also use password crackers to guess or brute force at their way into protected accounts, gaining unauthorized access to sensitive information. Well, Port Scanner also allows them to check which network ports are open, revealing potential entry point for launching attack. Okay. So when it comes to the web application attacker, employ Web Application Scanner to identify vulnerabilities in the company's website, such as SQL injection points or cross-site scripting. Additionally, Wi-Fi Vulnerability Scanner help them uncover security flows in wireless network, including weak encryption or purely configured access point, which they can exploit to intercept data or gain unauthorized network access. Now, let's see as a cybersecurity professional how to create a defense at this stage. Well, we need to start by educating everyone about security. This means teaching them about tricky techniques used by attackers like wishing, that is like sending fake emails that try to trick you into giving away personal information. Piggybacking, which is someone sneaking in behind you when you enter a secure area. Also shoulder surfing, like someone looking over your shoulder to see your password or other sensitive information. Also, we need to talk about using social media safely and understanding the privacy issues involved. And don't forget that everyone should also know about the complete security policy. Like how to create a strong password safely and network remotely, and how to keep the physical office secure. Well, another key part is to always keep an eye on what's happening in the network. By continuously monitoring network traffic, we can spot suspicious activities like unauthorized scan and strange behavior. Finally, it's super important to manage changes and configuration properly. This means making sure any new application and devices are set up securely right from the start, like turning off unnecessary features and services. Well, attackers determined which method to use to compromise target endpoint. Attackers can hide malicious code in simple-looking files like PDF or Word document, or even in emails. So, for every targeted attack, they might customize these files based on their interest of someone within the organization. This way, that attack seems more convincing, and it is harder to detect, so being cautious to these seemingly harmless files. Weaponization. So, attacker has figured out the best way to compromise the target, as they might hide malicious code in files that look harmless. Like a PDF for a Word document, or even in an email for more focused attack, they might tailor their method to fit the specific interest of someone in the target organization. For example, they might send a document about a topic that the person is very interested in, making it more likely that they will open it. Weaponization defense. So, breaking the cyber attack lifecycle at this stage can be tough, because the weaponization happens within the attacker's own network, which makes it hard to detect. However, there is still hope. By analyzing the malware and tool that attacker use, we can gather valuable threat intelligence. This information can help us create protecting against new unknown threats, especially when they try to deliver at the attack in their next phase. In simpler terms, even if we can't stop the attack, at this exact state, studying what the attacker used can help us to be ready to defend against them when they make their next move. Delivery. So, after preparing the malicious payload, attacker moved to the delivery phase. This is where they try to get the malware onto the target system. They might use different methods for this, like sending an email with the malicious attachment or link, sending harmful files or linked through chat or application, or redirecting a user web browser to a web page that automatically downloads malware without noticing them. Also getting files that contain malware. Well, their goal is to trick the user into opening these files or link, which will then install the malware on their system. Delivery defense. Well, to stop the attack at this stage, we need to see all network traffic, including from remote and mobile devices. This visibility helps us block dangerous websites, application, and IP addresses. So, by doing this, we can prevent both known and unknown malware and exploit from getting into our system. In simpler terms, it is like being a security guard who can see every corner of the building, ensuring that no bad actor can slip through any hidden doors or windows. We will continue our lecture on the cyber attack lifecycle and dive into the next stage after the delivery phase. So, let's start our topic. Exploitation. So, the exploitation phase is where the attack actually happened. Well, after the malicious payload has been delivered into the target, it needs to be triggered to cause harm. This can happen in a couple of ways, like unwaiting user action. For example, an end user might knowingly trigger the exploit by clicking on a malicious link or opening an infected attachment in an email. It is like stepping on a hidden trap. Well, the attacker can also remotely trigger the exploit, especially if there is a known vulnerability on a server within the target network. So, the key point is that the payload need to be activated either by triggering a user or by exploiting an unknown weakness in the system. Well, to stop a cyber attack to the exploitation phase, it's crucial to start with proactive and effective end-user awareness training. This training should focus on topics such as malware prevention and email security. Additionally, important security countermeasures include vulnerability and patch management, which involves regularly updating and fixing software to close security gaps and malware detection and prevention through the user antivirus and other security tool. Well, keeping up with threat intelligence about known and unknown threats helps stay ahead of attackers. Blocking risky unauthorized on unneeded application and services, along with managing files or direct permission and root or administrative privileges. Ensure that only authorized individuals have access to important files and system control. Finally, logging and monitoring network activities can help identify and stop suspicious behavior. In a sense, it's about teaching people how to be safe online and using various tools and strategies to maintain network security. Installation. Well, once attacker has compromised an endpoint, like a computer, they will try to gain more control over it. This often involved escalating privileges, which means they aim to get higher level access to the system. For example, they might set up remote access, allowing them to control the compromised computer from anywhere, as if they were sitting right in the front of it. Well, they might also install rootkit or other malware to maintain this control. So, with the remote access, the attacker can execute commands in privilege mode using a command line interface. This level of access lets them perform powerful action on the system. Next, the attacker will move across the network. This means they will look for the other computers or devices that they can compromise, and also they can spread their attack. Well, they execute attack code, identify new targets, and compromise additional endpoint. To establish persistence, ensuring they maintain access even if some defenses are put in place. Installation defense. Well, to stop attack, and the installation phase it's crucial to limit or restrict their lateral movement within the network. We can use network segmentation that involves dividing the network into a smaller isolated segment. Each segment acts like as a separate room in a building, making it harder for attackers to move around if they gain access. Well, think of it as adding more locked doors and walls to slow down or stop intruder progress. Also implementing Zero Trust model. Well, this security approach operates under the principle of never trust, always verified. It means that all network traffic both between and within segment is continuously monitored and inspected. Even if something or someone is inside the network, you still need to prove they belong there. This model also provides control over what applications are allowed to operate on the network, ensuring that only trusted apps have access. Command and control. Well, attackers set up secure communication channels back to their command and control server on the internet. This allows them to change their attack plans and method as they find more targets within the victim's network. It also helps them avoid any new security measure that the organization might put in place if attack is discovered. Well, communication is crucial for an attack because it lets the attacker remotely control the attack and achieve their goal. So, for the attack to work, this command and control traffic need to be both strong and sneaky. They might encrypt the data, scramble it, and keep it hidden from praying eye. Sometimes they use technique to bypass security controls, known as circumvention. Additionally, they may use unexpected network port, for example an attack trick called port evasion, to pass security system unnoticed. Well, with fast flux, they keep changing the IP addresses linked to the attack that make it hard to track. Also, with the DNS tunneling, they use DNS queries to secretly communicate. In simple terms, these methods allow attackers to hide their activities and control their attack remotely without being easily detected. Command and control defense. Well, to stop attacker at the command and control phase, it is crucial to implement several defense strategies. These include inspecting all network traffic, including encrypted communication to ensure nothing harmful is setting through. Well, blocking out command and control communication, using anti-command and control signature, along with the stopping suspicious file uploads or data pattern is essential. It is also important to block communication with non-malicious URL and IP addresses. Well, monitoring DNS for malicious domain and using technique like DNS sinkholing and DNS poisoning help block these threats. Well, DNS sinkholing involves redirecting malicious traffic to a control server, preventing it from reaching its intended target and causing harm. On the other hand, DNS poisoning manipulates the DNS record to redirect user to malicious site, taking them into divulging sensitive information or downloading malware. So, both techniques exploit the domain name system, but for very different purposes. Sinkholing is a defensive measure, while poisoning is an offensive attack. Finally, redirecting malicious outbound communication to honeypots can identify or block compromised devices and analyze that direct traffic. In essence, these measures help to monitor and control network activities from harmful communication, and use advanced technique to trap and study attack, thereby securing the network. Well, honeypot is a fake system that attracts hackers by the security specialists to study their action and improve security defenses. Act on objective. Well, attackers often have various goals when they reach the final stages of Cyber Attack Lifecycle. These objectives can include streaming data, destroying or modifying critical systems, networks and data, or launching developed service attack, which disturb services and make them unavailable to user. Well, at this stage, the attacker has already established control over the compromised system and can use to achieve further goal. They might steal sensitive information, cause damage to the organization infrastructure, or make services unavailable to user. What's more, they can also use this compromised system to start their attack cycle all over again on another target, effectively spreading their reach and impact. So, it's essential to recognize that the attack doesn't just end with a single goal. So, attacker can continue to leverage a compromised system to launch new attacks and further continue their malicious activities. Well, at this final stage of a cyber attack, monitoring and awareness. Key defense strategies. Well, according to the 2018 Verizon Data Breach Investigation report, attackers sometimes have a secondary motive. They are compromising a web application, not just to harm the initial victim, but to use the compromised system to attack another target. For example, an attacker might breach a company external network, that is a private network, that uses internet technology to gain access to a business partner who is their main target. Essentially, the initial victim becomes an unwitting accomplice in the attack. In 2014, the DBIR reported 20,244 incidents where web applications were compromised with a secondary motive. The attacker used the initial victim's network to pivot their attack to another network, thereby extending their reach and impact. So, it is crucial for organizations to be aware of this tactic and to continuously monitor their networks for suspicious activity to prevent becoming a stepping stone in a large attack. Well, I hope this engaging lecture has helped enhance your understanding of network attacks. Thank you.
If you enjoyed the lesson, please give it a like and share your thoughts in the comments. My team and I have worked so hard to make learning simple for you. Thanks for watching, and let's keep learning together.